Hello, I'm Dave, and this is my son Benjamin. And Benjamin wants to talk about what today?
Honestly, I just want to do a video with you.
Oh, okay. Well, we're doing a video and we're just going to talk.
Yeah.
So sit back and enjoy.
Okay. Firstly,
Okay.
wait a minute.
What's wrong? What's wrong with the paper?
Stop.
Oopsie. Uh-oh.
For sure this bottle's empty.
It's supposed to be. No, it's not. It's not empty.
It's a broken bottle of lens cleaner.
Yeah, someone lost a cap.
Just put it in the trash, Dad.
I think I should put that in the trash. Oh my goodness, I look fat. Look at me. I'm Jabba the Hutt. Even the color. You've never seen Jabba the Hutt, have you?
I have. That giant puppet was just weird.
Yes.
Weird. It's also important to note that this is his
My
front
hair
color.
is thinning.
This is the front color of Jabba the Hutt. Well, vaguely.
You
He
have
had
to explain to
There's better
people.
shade. In a bit. Also, he looked exactly like a slug.
Yes, I know that was the point. I don't know how he ended up controlling a crime organization. The man couldn't move. The thing couldn't move. The worm couldn't move. I don't know what they were thinking when they came up with that character.
I've always went if his relatives.
They all look the same.
You know, there's one character in that whole Star Wars franchise of Jabba the Hutt's race that actually could speak words.
Who was that?
It was like Jabba's uncle
Well,
Zero.
no, Jabba could speak words. He just spoke whatever language he spoke.
Yeah.
But he spoke a couple more.
I meant words like what we're saying,
You
Dad.
mean English?
The words.
He could speak English.
Yeah.
He could
it was
understand
Jabba.
English.
Yeah, I'm talking about Jabba's uncle Zero.
Okay.
Well, he was shown like the Clone Wars.
Oh, interesting. And why?
I know. Oh, he's probably just meant to help expand Jabba's family tree.
Ooh.
Wait, Jabba had a kid named Stinky. Well, that's what people nicknamed him. So it's unclear what that was.
Well, he had a son and a daughter who took over his empire.
Yeah, anyway.
Boba Fett made sure that when he took back over Jabba's old part of his empire, they understood that they should not come against him.
It's important to know that Boba Fett keeps following that weird pit thing and monster.
He got a new one, and he likes it. He likes...
Are you talking about Boba Fett?
Yeah, he likes giant animals. He likes to be able to ride them. Tame them and ride them.
There's also, so remember that scene in Star Wars where it falls in and nearly gets eaten by that one giant monster thing?
Oh, he almost got eaten by the Sarlacc, I guess it was. I don't remember what it was. It was some creature that had a hole in the desert that people or things fell into accidentally, usually. And it slowly digested them over a period of 1,000 years.
Did it really take that long?
Apparently, for it to do, it did.
And how did Jabba survive getting in that
Boba
thing?
Fett,
I mean, how did Boba Fett survive that thing?
he broke out one of the walls of its body, and he got out.
Jeez.
Yeah, it was pretty disgusting.
Yeah, when I saw that scene, I could have sworn Boba Fett was swallowed right in.
He was swallowed right in, but he managed, after several years, to get out the side.
Honestly, interesting. Apparently, in Boba Fett's, it's arsenal. He also has a lightsaber he took from some
Yeah, from a Jedi.
guy he killed.
He's pretty high speed when it comes down to it.
I never thought that someone who wasn't a Jedi or Sith could use a lightsaber.
No, lightsabers are just whoever holds them and turns them on. Basically, you have to build them. They're a piece of technology.
I thought there was some mystic power to them.
Nope.
But now they're actually just
They're actually just a weapon.
as like real life weapons. Yeah, I would have thought they did something like in Tolkien's work where you had to like pour a bit of blood of your blood to make a bond to your weapon.
What the heck are you talking
That's
about?
what the
That wasn't
swords.
in Tolkien. That
No, it's
wasn't any weapon in Tolkien.
It's in a lot other mythologies and other things.
Yeah, well, it's not in Tolkien.
This might be one of his later stories. I watched a video on some sword from the
I never.
Lord of the Rings.
I read
comics, it
Hobbit
talks
and
about-
Lord of the Rings, and nothing like that was in either one.
There's a lot of other Tolkien's works you didn't read.
There's only a couple, and they were published after his death by his son.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I just haven't gotten into them. But what I have read, there was nothing like that in any of his work.
Well, anyway. Well, let's discuss something interesting, like the King of Darkness.
Okay, what about the King of Darkness?
You do remember his name, right?
Nope.
His purpose in the story is basically to be like
Like Dracula?
No. Oh, Gandalf. Oh, his actual name is Grandolph.
That's the character I disagree with
It's just
because
the
of the name.
It's working
Yes,
progress.
let's get us sued by
Wasn't it dead?
Tolkien's errors.
And for 100 years now.
No, it hasn't been 100 years, and his family still owns copyrights on all of it, and I believe Peter Jackson does.
Is he still alive?
Peter Jackson? Yes. The movie wasn't made that long ago.
Oh, good point.
Well, to you it was. But they started making them before me and Mama even met.
the
the
first
second
Lord of the
movie
Rings
was-
movies would be the animated ones.
No. Yeah, that was a long time ago. But
in the 90s.
yeah, it's a long time ago.
Yeah, live action ones are the ones everyone enjoys.
Yes, and they were made in the early 2000s.
That is impressive CGI and other stuff for the early 2000s.
They did a really good job on it.
Mhm.
It was very impressive how much work they put into it. They actually filmed all three films over the course of an entire year.
Oh.
All the actors committed to staying on board for an entire year, doing their parts. Most of them lived together in one apartment.
Really?
Yeah. They just decided to get one apartment and lived in the same apartment. And excuse me. Because it was less expensive sharing an apartment. All in, I think, New Zealand is where they filmed most of it. But they all stayed on board, did everything for a year. Peter Jackson had it set up to where he had 6 cameras in front of him, and he was watching 6 different scenes being filmed at the same time. And he would, if he noticed something in one, he'd call him up and tell him, "Hey, I want you to do this differently," or something like that. And actually, the first guy that was picked to be Aragorn didn't work out. Even the actor who was picked said it just wasn't working some way. So he talked to Jackson, and they agreed. Yeah, he wasn't the person to play the part of Aragorn. And then they hired Viggo Mortensen to do it.
And he's still playing the movie, or did he just leave?
He just kind of left. I mean, he got paid still, so there was no reason for him to stay. Peter Jackson spent over $200 million making Lord of the Rings, all 3 movies. And you can go in New Zealand now, they still have the Hobbiton part all built, and you can still visit it. They did some amazing stuff.
So here's a question.
Here's the answer.
How much did he make out of those 3 movies?
couple billion.
And how much did he make out of the Hobbit trilogy?
I don't know, but even more because he did that really well. But for the Hobbit trilogy to have action, they had to add that ridiculous orc.
I feel it wasn't that bad.
It wasn't, but it wasn't part of the book. That orc didn't happen in the book.
Well, he kind of did exist.
No.
Is in the book. He was just killed on a little differently.
No. He
A lot
wasn't in
earlier.
the book at all. That orc and the rest of the orcs weren't in the book at all. Not at all.
Mhm.
Didn't even come up. But it was a good book. It was a very good book. It takes you a while to get into it, though. I had to get through the first 10, 12 chapters before it really got interesting. They were small chapters. The first ones, several were really small. And it just took a while to get through them. And they were so boring. Because Tolkien really went into a lot of detail on everything. And one of the things was you'd have places where he'd stop and there'd be a song written in there. So there'd be one of the songs that they would sing written in the book, and poetry that was in the book that just, it wasn't necessary to the story. But
It did kind of make it
in there.
interesting.
It
Like the
made
Welcome
it
to
for
Goblin
some
Town
of them.
Town song.
Oh, and Legolas was not in the Hobbit movie or in the Hobbit book at all.
It did show an interesting way in how to portray the earlier times of his character. He didn't even know how similar male and female dwarves can be. But
It
he never
doesn't-
stuck one guy's his wife for his brother.
Yeah, that happens.
And mistook a very young version of Gimli for or a hybrid goblin creature.
It doesn't matter. It's the fact that Legolas didn't exist, but they added Legolas and that other elf lady so they could have some kind of love story in there with the one hobbit who died. Or not hobbit, the one dwarf who
Dwarf.
died.
I think it was Killy.
I think so. But there was nothing like that in the book. Just didn't have anything like that. Also in the first series, which was The Lord of the Rings, they made Gollum kind of a sympathetic character.
He's still
and
pretty bad.
Gave him a split personality, a good side and a bad side kind of thing.
Both of them still want the ring.
Yeah, well, you didn't have that in the Lord of the Rings book. Didn't have that. He didn't have two personalities. He wasn't warring within himself whether to do good or bad. He was just straight bad. See, in Tolkien's writing, good guys were good guys. Bad guys were bad guys. That was it.
Mm-hmm.
There was no in between. There was no possibly trading sides or anything like that. It was, the books were a lot different in many ways than the movies, but the movies
I feel
overall were
Tolkien
wonderful.
could have fit a redemption story in his later works.
But he didn't. Tolkien never he never had a redemption story for anyone. You were either good or you were bad, and that's how you stayed.
Actually, it's a
It
very
wasn't
interesting thing.
until modern times that we started having
There
good
were
guys
redemption stories like with
being
Saul
bad
becoming Paul.
guys. Well, Paul wasn't really a redemption story because Paul was following his religion exactly as he'd been
He
taught.
was involved in killing people, though.
He
Okay.
only held their cloaks. He actually never killed anyone. And he only brought the other Jews back to be tried by the Sanhedrin. He did not kill any of them. So he felt like he was a murderer because he held their cloaks, because that was like a big thing, to hold the cloaks of the people who were doing the stoning. And that's it. That's all we know that Paul did. Other than that, he did nothing wrong, which is why
There's Samson.
Samson was not a redemption story.
No. Later in his story, where it was pride gets the better of him and he loses his strength.
Right. he had, it was pride, and it was to demonstrate that, because the same thing happened with David and Solomon.
Mhm.
Their pride got too great where they didn't think they needed to be where they needed to be, or they didn't think it was a problem with them doing what they were doing, and they were both huge sins, and both of them lost their place.
Yeah. Well, they did kind of humble themselves.
Yes, they
Yeah.
did, but David will never reach the celestial kingdom because
And
he's a
Solomon?
murderer. Solomon, I don't know. As far as I'm aware, Solomon didn't murder anybody, but so he could have received redemption, yes. But I'm going back over the stories. I'm still reading Joshua right now, so.
And there are actual real life redemption stories, like with John
Yes, there
Wesley
are.
Hardin.
Yes, there are, but there are plenty of redemption stories or redemption-like stories, but the pseudo villain who becomes a good guy, not really real. Doesn't really happen. I mean, you can try it, and we're all for people repenting,
Mhm.
but you still have to answer for your sins. If you were a murderer or something like that, you still have to turn yourself in, still have to go through the trial, still have to admit what you did.
Mhm.
And that's, the
That's
start.
kind of things Randolph preaches.
There is no Grandolph. I'm not accepting that name ever. It's a horrible name. Horrible. Wholly uncreative. And just,
I have to
Total
think of
copy.
something.
well, think again, because that's just an awful. No. It's too much of a ripoff of Lord of the Rings.
It's kind of putting
Also in The
from
Hobbit, Gandalf didn't have that much to do with what happened.
That's kind of the same thing.
In the book, he didn't.
In the
In
movie,
the
also,
movie, they gave him a lot more stuff to do, and he was involved in more stuff. But
they
in
did
the
show
book,
stuff he
wasn't.
did previously mention he was doing. When, like, looking for Thorin's father and other things.
Yeah, that's fine. But
and discovering the signs that Sauron was returning.
He didn't really discover that in the Hobbit. He didn't find
in the
that.
book or movie.
In the book,
he did mention there was a necromancer.
Yes, in the book, he mentioned there was a necromancer, and they made sure to stay away from his territory. But he didn't know that the necromancer was Sauron trying to come back. Neither did anybody else, and they had no evidence of it. And who's the other guy that was with Gandalf in the movie?
Radagast.
Radagast wasn't mentioned until the Lord of the Rings books. He wasn't at all
It is important
mentioned
to note that
in The Hobbit.
That
And in the Lord of the Rings books, all he did was come to tell Gandalf that Saruman wanted to speak to him. And that's all he knew. And that was it. That was the sum total of their entire conversation and everything that happened with Radagast for excuse me, the Lord of the Rings stuff. And that was it. It was one brief conversation to say, hey, Saruman needs to talk to you. He needs you to go to him now.
Can you believe they didn't show him the movies?
They didn't show him at all because he wasn't even an important character. Like I said, it was just to have Gandalf go and meet with Saruman, where Saruman did try to capture him, and he did escape on the back of a giant eagle, and then rejoined the Fellowship.
Mm-hmm.
So that stuff, was something that did happen. And I don't know exactly remember where Aragorn came into the picture at, but he did help the hobbits. But he didn't give them their weapons.
Yeah, some other guy.
It was Tom Bombadil, which they cut out of the movie completely.
Yeah. Is it either Tom Bombadil was the Witch King?
No, he wasn't the Witch King.
It's a theory people had.
That's weird because all he was he was a magical kind of guy, and
He
he
gave them
saved
Alvin daggers.
yes, he saved them from the giant oak tree that was trying to eat them.
Oh, is that supposed to be?
The forests are considered alive, and the forests were upset because of how certain people were overusing them or something, or they just
That
didn't
foreshadows
like.
what Mordor was doing to the trees.
Yeah, but the only thing that you had mentioned of it was with Tom Bombadil and that one oak tree that was upset, and it was a magic oak tree, and Tom Bombadil had to calm it down by singing some weird song, and then he took the hobbits with him back to his home, and they had a long talk with Tom Bombadil, and he gave them their swords and like that. But I still don't think they knew that the swords were magical until later.
Yeah.
And then he let them go, and they had to go through that whole area with the ghosts and like that. I might have to reread those books to refresh my memory on everything. But that's a scene that I was waiting for. Was waiting for the scene with Tom Bombadil, and they didn't do it. They skipped over it, and I was just like, "What?" Then you had Aragorn giving them their swords, which was like, "No, that didn't happen." So it was weird that they cut out Tom Bombadil like that. I mean, I could see why, because he really wasn't a main character. He didn't come and help them, afterwards in any of the battles or anything. He just gave them their swords, gave them food, and sent them on their way. And enlightened them on some things. And that was it. That's what his character mainly did. Yeah. And it was interesting how they did it, but I preferred with Tom Bombadil and not Aragorn. And then Arwen wasn't even a character. She didn't come in until the third book, and that's when she came to marry Aragorn.
Oh, really?
Yeah, she had no out.
Charlie, what took you so long?
Out. It's too late.
Let's go say hi.
Okay, come in, say hi.
Hello.
You okay? There you are. You said hello. Hi, Benjamin.
Not that one. The one I'm holding.
Okay. Beefy.
Okay, goodbye.
Love you. Bye-bye.
As you were.
Okay. Okay. I think we've got plenty
So
of...
I would like to talk real quick about James Black Cloud and his team members.
Who?
James Black Cloud. I'm working out a team name for them. I'm thinking like the Monster Brothers or something.
That doesn't sound good.
They're all technically a form of monster.
Yeah, but the Monster Brothers doesn't sound like a good name. I mean, I suppose you could do it that way. It would work.
Yeah, there's a vampire, a werewolf, a giant, and then there's Samson, who due to his appearance does fill a role of a zombie. But, he has the same thing that Chiron has in Percy Jackson. As long as he's needed, he's on the earth.
Okay. Okay. Well, that's interesting. But
I'm thinking of adding this is one member being a ghost.
that would work. What does this team do?
It's basically a detective team. They're taking down gangsters, just putting down drugs, a good Lord saying, and solving crimes.
Okay, that sounds good. Monster Brothers will work.
Yeah.
Okay. But we've been on this too long. I need to get back to doing my other stuff.
Yeah.
My son. Okay. Do you know I already did my crosswords today?
Really?
Crazy. Yeah, they were supposed to be harder, but me and Mama did pretty good on them.
Huh.
Love you.